Okay.
How come I look like I'm working and Adrian looks like he's on vacation? What the hell's going on here?
Pretty much I am.
I look like my grandfather, so.
Welcome to this week's edition of Hockey Unfiltered. I am Dylan Waugh. I am this. You see, you missed that bit. Welcome to this week's edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Ken Campbell. My name is Dylan Waugh. I'm the sidekick. Didn't come up with a good sidekick reference today. I am the either Halak to Carey Price or the Carey Price to Halak, depending on how you look at your history.
How about you are the Gilligan to my Skipper?
Okay, perfect. I'm the lovable screw up, I guess, as it were. Yes. This was supposed to be a 2-hour podcast. I liked your Gilligan to Skipper one. That was good.
Yeah, little buddy.
Okay. How you doing this week, Ken?
I'm doing great. You know, I mean, we're getting through the playoffs here.
Yeah, that's very true.
We are seeing some really good hockey. We're seeing some not so great hockey. But you know, now we're where it gets really interesting.
Yep.
We're at the conference finals.
Yep.
And I'm you know, we talked about this off camera, if you will.
We
But
don't
you know,
talk off camera.
I'm really actually looking forward to seeing some really good hockey, especially in the West.
Yeah.
Not so much in the East. I don't think it's going to be close. But you know, we said that about the Battle of Alberta, which didn't really live up to, like, it was good, but it didn't live up to the 30 years of hype that preceded it.
Yeah.
And that's on the Calgary Flames, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And, you know, we thought that the Battle of Florida was going to be a battle.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Right. Yes.
So, I mean, I'm really hoping that, like, I'm really hoping the Western Conference Final can live up to the hype. I think it will.
Yeah.
But I mean, we thought that before. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the losers. Before we go further, check out kencampbell.substack.com.
speaking of losers,
That's good. That's good. Well done. Check out kencampbell.substack.com. Check out this old loser on Twitter too at Ken_Campbell27. And of course, check out our podcast, Hockey Unfiltered. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. If you want it directly into your inbox, then the Substack, the aforementioned Substack, as it were. And yeah, so let's talk about the losers. We already discussed Florida, but we did get a question on Florida from August West on YouTube. And I can't believe it took me this long to place the name. Do you know what the name is from?
August West. No.
My name is August West, and I love
Still
my Pearly
don't know.
Baker best more than my wine.
Yeah, that's not helping me.
Grateful Dead.
Oh,
August West was the wharf rat.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways,
I don't listen to that hippie music.
I told you I quoted Jerry Garcia to a conservative MP came to my door. He said, "Well, if you had to pick, who would you pick?" And I said, "Choosing the better of two evils is still choosing evil."
Right. I would have said, "Not you."
I should have said, "Get off my lawn." Yeah. I just manicured it, okay, buddy. Anyways, so August West says, should Bill Zito share some of the blame for sticking with, after Joel Quenneville was fired, not going out and getting a,
Joel Quenneville type of coach.
Right.
Well, that's some pretty good revisionist history there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
First of all, it was an untenable situation.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's not like they fired Joel Quenneville because they were doing poorly and the team wasn't responding to him or whatever. This was a crisis situation.
Yeah.
You know? And they didn't actually fire him. He resigned, but I mean, semantics.
Yeah.
Semantics. He resigned. I mean, they had to have somebody in place fairly quickly.
Resigned in disgrace.
Yeah. Well, as it turned out, yes. But I mean, like, it wasn't like they had the luxury of having a month in the off season to, interview a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And this, they had to kind of hit the ground running, and they had to do it with somebody who was familiar with the organization.
Yeah.
And so, and like, until the playoffs, I don't know if anybody's really, has a problem with Andrew Brunette being the coach.
Yeah.
Right. They did win the President's Trophy. They were really good with him. They got behind in games, and then they'd be behind by 3 or 4 goals, and then they'd come back and win.
Yeah.
Like, it was incredible the way they did that during the regular season. During the playoffs, I think that coaching was a factor.
It's a huge factor.
I definitely think it was a big factor. It wasn't the only factor.
No.
I mean, a lot of those guys that we thought were going to be really battle hardened and be able to carry it in the playoffs didn't.
Yeah. You're talking about the Barkovs.
Yeah, and the Sam Bennett's and the Hubertos and
Huberto had a so-so playoffs.
Yeah, he had an okay playoffs.
But it wasn't
exactly.
It wasn't Hart Trophy finalist caliber.
I just feel like they never really got themselves untracked. You know what I mean? Like they really started the Washington series very poorly. They didn't look good. They came back, they won, and then we were kind of like, my idea of it was, okay, they faced their adversity, they got the yips out of their game, they weren't good. Now we're going to see the best of them.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't see the best of them. You know, I mean, the highest scoring team in the NHL scored 3 goals. None of them on the power play.
Yeah.
So and Tampa made them look really, really ordinary.
The reason why I like boxing and I can't stand ultimate fighting,
right,
is because when a boxer starts to go down, it gets broken up like that. Mm-hmm. In ultimate fighting, when a guy starts to go down,
the guy pounds on him.
It's
more,
like finish him. Yeah. It's just like to the death gladiator sports to me, right? And
what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Aren't you the anti-fighting guy for the NHL?
Yeah.
But anyways, but the thing is, so you develop a different instinct, right? And, the playoffs versus the regular season, you're right in the sense that it's a little bit of revisionist history. But it's almost like, looking back, even for myself, I'm like, I should have thought of it. What it takes to coach a team in the playoffs is different than what it takes to coach a team in the regular season. Look at all of the playoff success that Barry Trotz had with the New York Islanders compared to the very ordinary regular seasons that they were having, right? And so I almost should have thought of it like, you need that UFC mentality in the playoffs, which is like, I've already got you by the throat.
Bury him.
Why don't I punch your head as much as possible?
Right.
Yeah. And you need that in the playoffs. So I guess like I should have thought of that, and he was out coached. And to your point about the Stars not really being the Stars for Florida, a good coach can put Stars in a position to succeed, and whether that's matchups, whatever that might be, like a good coach will put those people in a position to succeed.
Here's what I will say about Joel Quenneville, and I maintain this, that in all the time that I've been watching hockey, there's never been a coach better than Joel Quenneville who can make in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
And he has an uncanny ability to know who's going and who's not, and who to play and who to sit and how much to play and to play with whom and all that. I don't believe and that includes Scotty Bowman, in my opinion. There isn't a coach that I've seen that's better at making those in-game adjustments and going with the guys who are going better than Joel Quenneville.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big part of it. But what are you gonna do, right? Like, you've had to have Joel Quenneville resign because of what essentially is toxic, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to bring in Mike Babcock? Like, what are you going to do? Like,
right.
Oh yeah,
and none of these guys.
We made the guy resign who was involved in the worst sex scandal in the history of the NHL, but we're also going to bring in a guy who's really toxic too, that's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, and you're exactly right. The bottom line is that they don't have time. Like, even if they were looking, and Andrew Burnett kept winning,
Yeah.
then sooner or later they're going to stop looking, because the thing, when Daryl Sutter took over for the Calgary Flames last season, they had to give him a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
It was a 3-year contract, I think. Maybe it was a 4-year contract. Yeah. Anyways, whatever it was, they had to give him a 3-year contract. So if you're not looking for a coach, you're not about to just be like, hey, Torts, here's 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to make that knee jerk for the long-term success of your team. So I hear where this is coming from, and it's not an unreasonable place. What a shock from a deadhead. We all come from very reasonable places.
I don't get that either, because I don't listen to those hippie freaks.
You're more into the heavy metal. You were at the Slipknot concert last night.
Me. That's me. Because I love having a guy with spikes coming out of his head yelling at me in a gravelly voice for a couple hours. That's my idea of a really good time.
Well, I have a guy yell at me in a gravelly voice for a couple of hours on this podcast every week. Yeah,
exactly. I'll just spike my hair from now on.
Yeah, that's my idea of a good time.
Wear a clown mask.
All right, so should we move on to the other losers?
Yep.
Okay, Carolina Hurricanes.
Losers.
Calgary Flames. Losers. Yeah, that's all we have to say on the matter.
No, but Carolina, that was super disappointing.
That was laid such an egg last night. You should have told me. So we talked on the phone at around...
Score a power play goal.
We talked on the phone around 9 o'clock.
Score a power play goal.
And I hadn't started the game, and I started it late. I just couldn't get to the TV. And I said to you, I said, yeah, I said, no spoilers. I'm about to start the game from the beginning. You should have just said, don't bother.
I could have, but then that would have spoiled it.
I know, but you know, what's there to spoil?
See, to me, it's like you look at the Carolina Hurricanes. They lost Freddie Anderson, but they didn't miss a beat in getting Antti Ranta. He was. I thought
Antti Ranta lost them one game.
Yeah, exactly. He had that bad game. That was it.
But you only lose a game once.
Yeah, he was
right. Let in 100 bad goals.
Right.
You only lose the game once.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
He was excellent.
He was.
Their defense is close to impenetrable. Their defense core is probably from top to bottom the best in the NHL. This is on their offensive players. This loss is pinned directly, in my opinion, on their so-called offensive players who just could not score a goal. And you know what? I mean, I get it that it's Igor Shesterkin. I get it that he's Superman. I get all those things.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming he's going to get picked apart in the next round. Maybe he won't. But
I don't know that he will.
Yeah. I just think that it's on them. Like, it's on these guys that they just couldn't get the job done.
So, firstly, as soon as I saw Ranta's knee bend like that, I just my knee twitched. It just it was really, and it's just so sad that this guy was taken out of the game that way. And you know, I just all the respect in the world to Antti Ranta for that series and for the whole playoffs so far.
Yeah.
I would say. But when Kochetkov went in, it was Kochetkov, right? The other goalie, yeah. When Kochetkov went in, did you hear do you know the story of the last emperor of Rome? So at this point, Rome was no longer an empire, but they still maintained an emperor, and the city had been sacked like 4 times at this point, right? And anyways, so another invasion horde came to sack the city, and they literally just went, you know what, man?
Not worth it.
They just said you're not an emperor anymore, and he stepped down, he abdicated, and just went off to live in exile. And it was almost like it was just this. He just took this pathetic, dying empire, and basically was an appointed emperor, and just had to basically walk away from it. And that was kind of like Kochetkov. It's just like the team had already laid the egg. Ranta was keeping them in it single-handedly. I mean, the 2 goals was one of the best deflections I've seen in the playoffs by Chris Kreider.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other one was through like 4 bodies. Now, ideally, a goalie can get the other one in an elimination game, but you don't pin that on the goalie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I guess I could have, but yeah, you don't pin that on the goalie. And so Kochetkov going in at that point, it just reminded me of the last emperor of Rome. He just had to sit there and preside over the downfall of the team. It's very sad. It's very sad to watch Carolina go out that way. And then, of course, the TV crew had to show us.
Right, we're with our, we have our third string goalie in there right now. Like this is how it. This is how it ends.
Yeah, exactly.
With us not scoring and a third string goal.
And this rookie is like practically some of his first NHL experience.
Yeah, and we're
losing a game 7.
We're throwing him in and we're giving up breakaways because we have to press the other way.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah. And Shesterkin had like by my count 3 excellent saves in that game, but didn't really have to stand on his head.
Yeah.
He had to be good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't look like Carolina did not sustain, and the New York Rangers did an excellent job of holding Carolina to the outside.
Yeah,
I was surprised. So before we get on to the next bit, actually, you know what? I'll talk about that when we talk about the New York Rangers when we preview the New York Rangers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Calgary Flames.
The Calgary Flames were a huge disappointment in this round. This was the team that was supposed to be the best 5-on-5 team in the NHL. All this depth, all this texture to their team, they just didn't get it done.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, the wild card of goaltending.
Yeah.
Jacob Markstrom was not bad. He was putrid. He was terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. Well, I do know what it was, but like, I just feel like he felt as though he had to play so deep in his net, and you're the goalie guy, but to kind of negotiate and get across and figure everything out and all of that he just played so deep in his net that he just got picked apart.
So goalies practice flow. Excuse me, flow. And it's kind of become a buzzword in the goaltending community. Flow, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like when all of a sudden everything became edge work. Look at his edge work.
Mike Smith has great flow.
Yeah, on his hair. Yeah, and on a simple level, flow is simply just like your ability to be at the top of your crease, to the side of your net, and basically be able to transition your movements perfectly and be able to pick and move and combine different techniques in order to have flow. But at an NHL level, you're going to practice that flow based on the defense that's in front of you. How fast are guys coming at you? Where is the defense giving them angles to come at you? And so you're going to be practicing the flow in that sense, right? And Jacob Markstrom just looked like a guy who all of a sudden his flow was completely thrown off because all of a sudden he didn't have any solid idea of where he was being attacked from and how he's being attacked. Okay. And then to your point, he wound up defaulting to the goal line. Some goalies then try to become over aggressive on the shots.
Okay.
And he defaulted back, and he was just, he was putrid. But the other thing that I thought about is that the book on him when he was in Vancouver was that he was an excellent goalie that shouldn't start too many games because his body broke down too quickly. Yeah. Now he came out and said, "I'm not injured," but that doesn't mean that your body's not, kicking back at you.
Doesn't mean you're not tired. Yeah.
So that was a thought that I had about him, which was, maybe he's just not the goalie that you want to be riding through a playoff series, and maybe 40-year-old Mike Smith is.
Well, his career numbers are great.
Yeah.
His career numbers are great.
Yeah. Well, when you have a playoff series every 10 years, then they're gonna be
kicked in or not.
Not. Okay. So I sent a friend of mine a message and I said, it's really sad to see 2 series decided on essentially bogus calls. Mm-hmm. And he pushed back on that statement, and which I think he was right to do. And I said, okay, they weren't necessarily decided on those bogus calls because I'm referring to the Leafs series and the Flames series. But to see the refs have an unconscionable.
That wasn't refereeing though.
No, okay, fair enough. That was the Toronto War Room.
They called it a goal.
Yeah.
It got called back. It got reviewed automatically by the Toronto War Room.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it was completely out of their hands. It was completely out of the referee's hands. So the guys in the War Room who are watching all the games every year, and say what you want about the NHL, but at least you're getting some consistency there, because you're not getting like, Chris Rooney's interpretation of a kicked in goal one night and then Kelly Sutherland's another night. You know what I mean? When these things go back to the war room, they're at least the guys that are watching them all the time, and they decided it was kicked in. I don't see it at all.
He was on one foot.
There's no to me, the word is distinct. That's where I have all the problem with this rule.
Yeah.
There was nothing distinct about that kicking motion. He maybe directed it in, but he was in survival mode. And yeah, I don't agree. I thought it was a bad call.
So apparently on the broadcast, which I don't normally watch the in-between period stuff.
Yeah.
I normally walk the dog or do something that I've been postponing, empty the dishwasher. Right. But apparently, the stuff the bare minimum to keep me married.
Right. Yeah. That stuff. Yeah.
But apparently they were saying the professionals in the group, such as Kevin Bieksa, was saying, yes, I would definitely be purposely trying to redirect that puck into the net, even though I'm on one foot and being pushed and all the rest of it. And that's fine. The thing is that I don't think that necessarily is mutually exclusive to the fact that it was not a distinct kicking motion.
Right.
You could, because to your point, distinct kicking motion doesn't mean turning your skate blade to redirect it.
Well, and in fact, you're allowed to do that.
Right.
You're allowed to redirect.
And at this point in the play, he had been cross-checked in the back.
Yeah.
He tripped 1 foot on the goalie and was on his left foot. His right foot had tripped. He's on his left foot all by itself.
Yeah.
And yes, you can see his left knee pump forwards.
Yeah.
But his skate blade never leaves the ice, and I would say that there is no way that you can call that a distinct kicking motion when a guy is going to crash into a steel bar.
Yeah.
And
it was
they skate at 40 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, and it was going in already. Anyway.
And it was going in already. So I'm just like, of the two things, one that it was going in already, which, as you know, goaltender interference is supposed to be if the puck is going in already and somebody interferes with the goaltender at that point, it doesn't call back the goal.
Right.
So the fact that it was going in, anyways, whatever. Bogus call. We agree.
Yeah, not a bogus call, but a missed call, a wrong call. And it just, to me, it was almost like the NHL not being able to get out of its own way. That's not a challengeable call.
Right.
So the Oilers weren't going to challenge it because they can't.
Yeah.
You can't, that's not a challengeable call.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to challenge it.
Yeah.
They, the referees obviously thought it was a goal. Wes McCauley and Eric Furlat thought it was a goal.
Yeah.
And then the NHL just kind of stuck its nose in.
Now, the bottom line is, with all of this, is that the better team won.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No,
and so that's why my friend pushed back on me, because he's like, you can't say that it decided the series when at the end of the day, Tampa was the better team in the Toronto series and Edmonton was the better team in the Flames series.
It didn't. And this would have put Calgary up 4-3 or 5-4, whatever.
Yeah.
With 6 minutes left. Who are we to say that Connor McDavid wouldn't have come out and scored 3 goals in that last 6 minutes? But all things being equal, they win that game based on that go-ahead goal.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they would have won the series. I doubt they would have won the series.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Game 6 of the Battle of Alberta.
I would have loved to have seen Game 6.
I'm sure the Calgary Flames would have loved to have seen Game 6.
Yeah.
I'm sure the NHL would have loved to have gotten all the revenue that would have come in from a Game 6 and possibly a Game 7 of the Battle of Alberta.
Yeah.
So, and then it was almost like, damn, we're not talking about how Leon Draisaitl had arguably the best playoff series in NHL history.
Right.
We're not talking about Connor McDavid's greatness. We are, but we're not talking about it as much.
But we got to talk about a stupid goal call.
Anyways.
All right. Let's move on to the last loser.
We still got one left, eh? Okay. Who's that? Carolina? Or did
we talked about Carolina?
Yeah.
We talked about Florida last week. And we just talked about the
St.
Flames,
Louis, we're talking
and
about
now
St.
we got to
Louis.
talk about St. Louis.
Yeah,
I think that the St. Louis Blues put up a pretty good fight, and unfortunately, the fans of the team and of course the team's response did make it kind of a good guy versus bad guy narrative, right? Like it really just it just felt like like the righteous team needs to win, which of course. it's all laundry at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the St. Louis Blues, they made it a series. They made me feel good about, the fact that I didn't give them 100% chance to win, but at the end of the day, they lost, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I should specify that I didn't give the Colorado Avalanche 100% chance to win.
Right.
So
I did, however.
You did, however.
I was getting a little worried about that too at one point.
Yeah.
Although that series to me wasn't close.
Once
That series
Kadri
wasn't close.
when Kadri got through the garbage that he got through,
Yeah.
and then scored a hat trick, it became very clear to me that Colorado was going to win.
Right. Okay.
Like at that point, it just was like
you're game 5, blowing game 5 away from doing it in 5. Nathan McKinnon has that beautiful goal, has a hat trick, and then they just let their foot off the gas for a little while and let St. Louis hang around, and St. Louis won. To me, that wasn't a close series, and it shouldn't have been a close series. I didn't think it was going to be a close series. I think St. Louis really likes to play that heavy down low game, and Colorado just wasn't having any of that. And they were like, nope, we're turning it up. We're turning it up. We're turning up the tempo. We're dictating that. We're going to dictate the terms of engagement here, and it's going to be, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So before we get off of the losers, let's talk about our picks for round 2. So, and we are going to be multiplying with every round the importance of the points.
Yeah.
Because round 1 had 16 possible teams. Round 2 has 8, so then we're going to multiply times 2. So each of these.
So
series,
I'm up 19 going into round 2.
You're up 19.
I'm up 19 points, and so we picked very quickly. We picked a percentage by which we thought the team would win. So I picked, like, in this round, I picked Colorado 100%.
It's essentially a wagering
So everything
system,
over 50 is how many points you get, or something like
is
that,
plus,
right?
and then you get subtracted for picking
losing.
the wrong team and how much you wagered on that. So
anyways, you guys won't understand it. But anyways, after the first round, I was up by 19.
that's the most important part.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be up by a hell of a lot more.
By a lot more. So you picked Edmonton with 53%. I picked Calgary with 65%. So that is an 18% swing for you.
But you said we're doubling.
We'll double it at the end.
Okay.
We'll just double once we've got the tally.
Okay, so I 18 points for me.
18 points for you.
Right.
You picked Carolina 75. I picked Carolina 80.
So that's 5 for me.
That's 5 for you, despite the fact that we both picked the losing team.
I can't believe I get points for picking a shitty losing team.
Yeah, well, because I picked them and I was more sure of it.
Okay, all right.
So you get points over me.
So we're up. What am I up now? What is it? 18 and 5? Is that what it would 23?
Yeah, so 23.
Yeah. Okay.
You picked Avalanche, the Avalanche, 100%.
Right.
I gave them 60%. So that's plus 40 for you.
Yeah, we're at plus 63 right now.
Oh, man.
Times 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I picked Tampa at 60%. You gave Tampa 56%. So I get myself a whopping 4.
Okay. So what are we at? 6?
We are now at 58. You are plus 58.
Plus 58. Yeah. Okay.
That's it. That's all the series.
Can we stop this senseless slaughter? 58. So that's 116 plus. I'm up 125. We really don't need to make it double the points in the subsequent rounds.
Here's the thing, Ken. This is the playoffs, okay?
Yeah.
If you can drive the stake in, you drive the stake in, okay? This is not about making people feel good. You do the flyby after every goal.
Okay.
I'm a big boy. I'm in the professional leagues. I can take it.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Took it pretty bad on that one.
You took it like on your hairy chin. Big time. Holy smokes. Yeah. I can't believe that I like obliterated you the way I did. Really.
I'm pretty surprised by that myself.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that I'd pick up a few points. Like, come on, Calgary. What's wrong with you guys? Jerks.
65%.
All right. So we have an awesome interview coming up.
Oh, yeah.
With Mark Spector and
Adrian Dater.
Previewing
the Western Conference.
So before we get to that, check out kencampbell.substack.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. I almost said Apple iTunes because they've rebranded. It's a piss off. Anyways, don't forget to leave us a comment. You can leave us comments on the YouTube videos. You can check out our clips on YouTube, which, we do this into little sections, so you don't have to listen to us for an hour if you don't want to. But, you can. Yeah. If you like. Yeah. And of course, if you leave comments, we will read them. We will comment on them as we did with August West just now. We will maybe sing you a song that nobody except for myself and Mr. West care about.
That's a good part of it. Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, so let's preview the East.
Okay.
Here, can I kick this off?
Yes.
Because I want to say something where I feel it's very important to me.
Okay.
I always loved Gerard Gallant as a coach. I loved him when he was the defensive coach in Montreal, and Montreal's defense suffered incredibly in his absence. And then he went and became the head coach in Florida, and then the Panthers all of a sudden started becoming pretty good. But then he had that weird firing. Then he went
in Carolina. Coincidentally, not ironically.
Ooh. Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was in Carolina. That's where they literally, and when I say literally, I mean literally, they kicked him to the curb.
Literally no taxi. Yeah. Kicked to the curb, yes. So, and then he went to, of course, Las Vegas, correct, where he really made a name for himself, right?
Yeah.
Taking them to the Stanley Cup Finals. And now he's in the New York Rangers. And now, so what I guess I want to say about this is that the New York Rangers had very poor advanced stats, and I was reading a lot into that. And it didn't at any point occur to me that Gerard Gallant basically just knows his stuff.
Yeah, to me, it's like he's not going to force this.
Right.
Okay, we got the best goalie in the world back there.
Yeah.
So let's use him.
Yeah. So why are we worried about letting the expected goals against go there?
Why are we worried about giving up chances? Because the best, well, I don't know if he's the best goalie in the world, because the other guy in this series is probably the best goalie in the world.
Yeah.
However, that's a part of knowing your team. And there are some coaches who would probably want to force impose something on these guys and say, no, we can't win this way. And ultimately they probably can't.
Yeah.
But we can't win this way. We've got to we've got to play a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of fun to play this way, but we got to play this way. And sooner or later they're going to have to start if they really want to win. They're going to have to add that texture to their game.
But they did in the last game against Carolina. Like the way that they protected the house against Carolina in the very last game was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And there was a bit of keeping them to the outside, which you're right. However, I mean, I think Gerard Gallant has recognized, and he's a player's coach. He's a former player. He understands these things. It's like, okay, it's not about me. It's about the talent that we have.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to give up a bunch of chances against the game, that's okay, because we're going to get a bunch of chances and we're going to get the occasional power play, and it's going to score 32% of the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, what he's done is what... it's similar to what Martin St. Louis did in Montreal, but it's what coaches don't like doing, which is that he has allowed himself to rely on the individual talent of his team.
Right.
And he has allowed himself to say, because coaches don't like doing that, because then they don't have as much control over what's going on.
It's not about them. It's not about them. Yeah.
So he's allowed himself to say, you know what? I don't care that, I don't care that, Kako and Lafreniere are, playing this incredible, whatever, rushing system, blah, 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 this cycle or whatever. What I care about is that individually, both of them who are excellent goal scorers throughout their entire career so far in hockey, what I care about is that they get their chances. What I care about is not that Panarin, plays this solid two-way role, blah, blah, blah line. What I care about is that Panarin gets chances on the net.
Right.
And so he has allowed himself to rely on players individually. And I mean, they're going up against Tampa, and John Cooper is an excellent coach, and Tampa is the opposite. They play a team structure, an excellent team structure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But the fact is that nobody's slowed down the New York Rangers so far.
Yeah, no. Louis Domingue couldn't do it. Antti Ranta couldn't do it. Kokjaktlev couldn't do it. They've faced some really. Well, I mean, Ranta was.
In fairness, Ranta had himself.
Was excellent.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, this is a whole new ball game as far as I'm concerned. I mean, as great as Shesterkin's been, Vasilevsky's actually been better.
That's an interesting question.
Well, he wasn't at the beginning of the first round, but they both had their yips, right?
They did.
Games 3 and 4 in the first round, Shesterkin was terrible. Yeah. And there were games in the first round when Vasilevsky wasn't that good either. So it sort of all evens out. But I mean, to me, Tampa Bay can play. Like, the thing that sort of impresses me most about Tampa Bay is, yeah, sure. Well, you just let us know how you want to play the game, and we'll beat you at it. Like we'll beat you at it, and we know we'll beat you at it. Like John Cooper said in the first round, some of the stuff he said, it was, when they were running into trouble, it was like, yeah, they're good. The Leafs are good, but it's us. It's not them. It's us. Yeah. And and then they turned that whole narrative around. And to me, if you want to play a run and gun game, yeah, okay, we're good. If you want to play a down and dirty game, okay, we're fine. You want to play a 2-1 game? We're good there too. We'll give you nothing once we get up in the third period by a goal. We will give you absolutely nothing. Yeah. And to me, I think the most important thing about the Tampa Bay Lightning is, I don't think at the beginning of the year that they were convinced that they had another cup in them. I really don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
I don't think they thought that they could do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And now they know they can do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they have gone from a 2-time cup champion to a 2-time cup champion who recognizes the possibility of being a dynasty. And I don't think that can be discounted. I think, this team, they have a culture, they have a standard, and when they're this close, they're going to push it.
They, when you listen to them talk last year after winning the Stanley Cup, a lot of the narrative was around, we had to do it because we're not going to have this core next year, et cetera, et cetera.
And now it's like, let's do it for Corey Perry. Let's do it for, let's do it for Brandon Hagel. Let's do it for the guys that haven't won.
Let's do it for the undisputed best hockey player in the league, Pat Maroon.
Right. 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
And when I say guys who haven't won it, I do know that Corey Perry won a Stanley Cup in 2007.
150 years ago.
With the Anaheim Ducks. But it's been a while.
So Andrei Vasilevsky has a .932 save percentage. Igor Shesterkin has a .928. Mm-hmm. Igor Shesterkin has better goals saved above average with 7.2 to Andrei Vasilevsky's 6.8.
Oh, somebody said he saved 11 goals above expected or something like that.
What is an expected goal is a proprietary stat. So some websites will calculate it one way and some will calculate it another way. Okay. I tend to use natural stat trick. Here's the interesting one though. High danger save percentage. Vasilevsky's got a .915. So high danger just being
that's shots, amazing, right?
Shots close to the crease or in the home plate area. Yeah. And Shesterkin has what's about an average at 848. So it's interesting that Vasilevsky. Yeah, but that's so. I mean, if you're Tampa Bay, you're saying, well, then I've got to muscle to the front of the net, right? Yeah. Because that's where high danger is, right? So if you're the Rangers here, you're going, well, I don't know where to beat Vasilevsky. I don't know what section of ice do I have to fight for, because you can look at high danger, mid danger, low danger. If you are actually reviewing game tape, you can look at the, lateral movement versus how they fight through screens versus how they, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of, I'm convinced that we are in a day and age where there's no solving a goaltender by a shooter. There's no shooter that can turn around and say, oh, the goalie's weak glove side. No goalie is weak glove side in the NHL. No goalie is weak blocker side in the NHL. No goalie is weak 5-hole in the NHL. There are no Ilya Bryzgalovs out there. Right. Yeah. And especially in this playoff series, at which point, when you're talking about solving a goalie, you have to talk about that as a team. And so it's very interesting to me that, obviously the front of the net is the hardest ice to fight for in a hockey game. But if you're talking about Andrei Vasilevsky, who has a 915 in front of his net, then you're like, well, why am I even fighting for that ice?
Yeah.
How am I beating him there? Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
why am I taking, well, Ryan McDonough's not a big cross checker actually, but like, you know what I mean? Well, Sergachev can be one dirty little bugger in front of the net.
Chernak's a monster.
Right. Chernak's a monster. Yeah. It's actually funny that McDonough and Hedman are pretty, not all that aggressive.
No.
In terms of, but are excellent, of course, defensively. Like McDonough has quietly put himself together a very, very good playoffs this year.
Yeah, and he did that last year and the year before too.
Yeah. Montreal draft pick.
Yes.
How's Scott Gomez working out?
Yeah.
That's always the joke. So I don't know. Like this series is so difficult to predict.
Not for me. I think Tampa's gonna crush them. I'm going 100%, by the way, on Tampa and I'm thinking part of it is that I'm already like destroying you. So I'll either just like
you'll either implode or
no. I'll crush you into dust. Or I'll let you back in this thing.
Right.
So you can be strategic about it. I don't think this series is going to be close. I really don't. I think that Tampa is by far the superior team, even though they actually, technically, they go into this series as the underdog because they're starting on the road. And New York had more points. I really believe that Tampa's just going to take this series by the throat, the way they did against Florida, and I don't think that the New York Rangers, well, they realize what they're up against, but they are not like what they faced in the first two rounds. Is nothing compared to what they're going to face.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing. Carolina, they showed some of that. Like, to be honest, they're an excellent team, and they just had a nasty habit of imploding.
Yeah, could you see the Tampa Bay Lightning going up 2-0 in this series and then losing?
Yeah,
no,
I
mean, they had them. They were up 2-0 in the series.
Can I throw out some other little goalie microstats in this series?
Sure.
Just to be clear, microstats, they're not always the most important indicators in the world. A lot of people on Twitter love to quote microstats as if they mean something very profound. But in this case, it's just interesting. Andrei Vasilevsky has faced, in the entire playoffs, in all strengths, 21 rush attempts against.
Okay.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning have been so good at preventing rushes, which is how New York seems to like to play, that Vasilevsky's only faced 21.
Shesterkin's faced probably, I'm going to say 70.
32.
Okay, well, that's, yeah.
So it's worse, but not.
I thought it would be worse.
But hang on, this is where it gets fun. Andrei Vasilevsky's faced only 42 rebound attempts against. Mm-hmm. Now, part of that is he's got good rebound control, but part of that is the defense's ability to clear the crease. How many has Shesterkin faced?
I'm not going to guess because I was so off on
103.
Holy snapping.
103 rebound attempts against Shesterkin. Now, part of that is that, he bobbles pucks once in a while. But part of that is like we have seen it where the puck, it just seems like it's all over his crease.
If I were Pat Maroon, the first thing I'd do is skate by Shesterkin and just look at him and go, that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were Pat Maroon, I'd skate by Shesterkin and say, you've probably enjoyed life up until now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? So it's hard when you're wrong so much as I have been to trust your instincts, because I want to give Tampa 100% as well.
I don't know.
But I've very underestimated the New York Rangers. And like I said about Gerard Gallant, I've always loved him as a coach. I've loved him from his Montreal days as a coach.
Well, be strategic about it. Give New York 100. And then that way.
No, I'm not going to be strategic about it.
And then that way, you're going to pick up like 150 points.
I like to lose honestly. I like to lose honestly. I'm not going to be strategic about it.
That's what losers say.
I maintained my dignity.
Yeah, that's what you did. Okay.
I'm going to give Tampa 65%.
That's it? Okay, whatever.
It's a 35-point swing.
Yeah, I'm giving Tampa 100.
Okay.
I don't think, like I said, I don't think this series is going to be close
Okay.
at all.
It's a 35-point swing, and which actually is ×4 for this round.
I thought it was ×3 and then ×4 in the final.
Oh, pardon me. You're right. It would be ×3. Right. Yeah.
So
It's a decent swing.
What did you say? It's a 35% swing.
Yeah.
So you could pick up 115 points.
Yeah. But I'm still picking the team that I think is going to win.
And what am I at right now? 162 or something like that?
125.
Oh, 125. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, okay. I could pick up a lot of points for being wrong here is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, let's just do the prediction for the other series because our preview for the other series.
Correct.
Stick around.
Yeah.
We didn't do that because, of course, we had two very busy guests on.
Yeah.
One looked more busy than the other. So what's your prediction for the other series?
Well, you'll find out when we talk to Spec and Adrian. I was way more conflicted on this than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
And
me
it's
too.
only because so much of the narrative around Edmonton's season was that 2-11-2 stretch.
Yeah.
But if you throw that out,
Yeah.
they've had exactly the same, like over the last 46 games, the Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers have had exactly the same record.
Yeah.
And the Oilers, like this sample size is big enough to say that they are an elite NHL team.
Yeah.
And I want to pick them. I really do. I want to pick them, but I can't. I just think the depth that Colorado has is going to prevail. I think it's going to be Colorado in 7, but I'm going like 55-45, 55%.
For Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a lot more conflicted as well. And the thing that's really got me conflicted is in net. Because look, if there's one goalie that like could potentially just fall apart, it is Mike Smith. And I'm not trying to be
in terms of health.
Right. In terms of health, in terms of fatigue. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I'm, my joke is that every goalie guy has a very love-hate relationship with Mike Smith, right?
Yeah.
So just in terms of health, in terms of fatigue, if there's one goalie that can fall apart, it's Mike Smith. But for all intents and purposes, like Darcy Kemper's not had a good playoffs. He's got a .904 save percentage. Yeah. He's let in 2 more goals, 2.14 goals saved above expected, minus 2.14. He's let in, he's not playing league average. So he's got an 811 for high danger save percentage. Mike Smith has an 843, which is around, average.
Which is average, yeah.
Yeah. I guess my point is that goaltending sinks ships, man.
Yeah.
Goaltending sinks ships.
Okay, so what are you saying? You're saying that Edmonton has the better goal?
No, I'm just saying that if it wasn't,
Edmonton does have the better goal.
I'm just saying that if it wasn't for that, there'd be no conflict at all in my mind. I'd be like Colorado 100%. I'd give a Ken Campbell prediction here.
Yeah.
But that goaltending really just it really, it's boy. I should really start thinking about these in advance, before we do this.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be a good idea.
You've got Colorado at 55%.
I do.
I'm going to take the same logic that you took last series for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Edmonton at 55%.
Nice.
And the reason why you said you don't know that there's anybody out there that can stop Connor McDavid.
Right.
And I look at how Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman completely dismantled an excellent defensive core. Even without Chris Tanev, they're still an excellent defensive core.
Yep.
I look at how they dismantled them and dismantled the goaltender in Jakob Markstrom.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a worse goalie and you've got a worse defensive core. All due respect. A worst in zone defensive core. Okay.
Yeah.
You could argue that it's a better defensive core all over.
Yeah.
This is the thing that stats guys always have trouble with, is because you like to quote Corsi on a defensive core, but that doesn't necessarily measure in zone defense. And if you can say that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are guys that can gain the zone, then you've got now a question as to what the defensive core will be able to do against them.
How much will they have it in the zone, though, is my question. Yeah. So, anyways, but you bring up some good points.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we've got ourselves a 10-point swing on that one, which becomes a 30-point swing.
Right. So you know, if I'm wrong on both, you're in the lead.
Thanks, Ken. That's so nice
okay.
of you.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to the interview. Before we do, check out kencampbell.substack.com. You just wrote an article. I didn't get a chance to read it because I was setting up for this. Ken Holland gets the last laugh, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, he does in a way because, like, everybody thought he was the village idiot a couple of months ago.
It's very true.
And now, you know.
Us included.
I never did.
Well, I know, yeah,
He's a
okay.
pretty great guy. I think he's a pretty smart guy. I think he's, you know, but
we were all scratching our heads on the goaltending thing.
Yeah, I did have some questions about some of the things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Village idiot is harsh, but yes. We had some questions.
Correct.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So check out kencampbell.substack.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Check out the YouTube for the Hockey Podcast Network, and also, of course, our personal YouTube account, where you can get all of these little clips, little bite-sized segments where you can just listen to us for 10 minutes at a time, because that's what we find people are able to stomach.
To endure.
That was a Bob Newhart thing. As he was closing off one of his stand-up sets, he said, well, I'm going to wrap it up now because I found that you know, this is about as much as an audience can take. He said, we start to hear murmurings and people start passing notes, and somebody sometimes comes up and asks me politely to leave. The guy's such a class act.
Yeah. All right, hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Well, everybody, it starts tonight. The series that I think we were all hoping for, or a lot of hockey fans were hoping for, the Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche, the battle of the superstars. And here to join us to preview the series is Mark Spector from Sportsnet.ca and Adrian Dater from Colorado Hockey Now. A couple of veteran hockey writers who know their way around every rink in the league. Thanks for joining us, guys. I appreciate it.
No worries, guys.
Happy to be here.
Great, good. Well, I'll start with you, Mark. You know, the Edmonton Oilers dispatched the Calgary Flames in 5 games. It wasn't an easy series, but it was a short series. You know, I was looking, and from game 46 on, after the Oilers had that terrible run through COVID and went 2-11-2, in the last 46 games, their record was 31-11-4 for 46 points. And guess what the Colorado Avalanche's series was in their record was in their final 46 games?
What?
31-11-4. They had exactly the same record down the stretch. And so to me, I mean, I think Edmonton's an underdog in this series, but maybe they shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, it's funny you point that out because you know how it is, guys. Adrian, you know this. We all cover our own teams inch by inch, right? Every little day of every machination. So, of course, those of us around the Oilers were quite well aware that in the second half of the season, they were top 5 team in the National Hockey League. 5 or 6, I think.
Top three.
Top 3. It depends.
They were tied for third. Florida was better, and Calgary was better. And
so there you go, right? Yeah. So you know what? I've covered enough playoffs. So have you guys. I don't really care that much how your team played in November and December. I want to know how your team played from February on, frankly. That's what tells me if you're ready to be a playoff team. So I'm not saying that I predicted Calgary to win, so I'm no genius here. But the people around the Oilers, and certainly the people inside the Oilers, have been able, for the first time in a long time, to look at themselves and say, this isn't a small sample size. This isn't a hot streak. We just went 3 months as a top 3 team in the National Hockey League. Down the stretch, when the games are tougher to win, they were winning them. So don't expect the Oilers to think that they're just here for fun. They've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Adrian, I mean, the Colorado Avalanche have been the gold standard, quite frankly, for almost all of this season. And, you know, they've been, in my opinion, they've just been clinical and methodical. You know, I know the St. Louis series went 6 games. I don't think it was that close. I don't think it was anywhere near that close. Obviously, they swept the first round. What do you think their mindset is going into the series, facing a team that, as Mark said, has been, you know, stride for stride with them in the last 3 or 4 months?
Well, I do think the Avalanche have this mental hurdle off them a lot going into this series. That second round thing was real. I mean, 3 years in a row they lost in the second round. 0-6 going back to 2002 in the second round. So it's been a long time, boys. I mean, this used to be, you know, it used to be my, you know, as they used to say in Montreal, which day is the parade, or whatever that saying was.
No, they always said in Montreal. They said, "Yeah, we'll be having the parade on this day, and it will follow the usual
route." I'm sorry, that's right. Michael Farber used to always say that to me.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be just easy every year. You go to the Western Finals, Colorado Avalanche. You know, that's all I used to know. It's been 20 years now, so I think everybody's really excited here. I think that mental hurdle is gone. I think they're going to enjoy themselves a little bit more. That said, you know, nobody's taking the Edmonton Oilers lightly. I mean, the prospect of Connor McDavid and Draisaitl coming over the boards every other minute is not exactly an appetizing thing to think about for a hockey defenseman. So I think they're going to have the proper mindset here. You know, the mindset has definitely been different this year. I think more of a killer instinct in a way, a little more disciplined. You know, everything they said they wanted to do, they've done so far. So somehow they've had good health too. They usually don't have that this time of year. Usually they've got 5 or 6 guys out. Right now, nobody's out. So, you know, Avalanche fans, I think, are sort of pinching themselves a little bit, like, this might be a little too good to be true. But maybe it's not. You know, maybe this team is just destined to go all the way. And yet, you know, we've seen this team also win big second round series before and then lose in the third round when they sort of let down a little bit. That happened in the late 90s against Dallas twice. So, you know, it's a good situation here, but I think everybody is just properly, you know, the proper mindset is here. I don't think they're taking them lightly, and yet I think they're very confident too.
Yeah. Well, this team reminds me of the Washington Capitals leading up to their Stanley Cup in 2018. You know, a star-studded group that had done tons of great things during the regular season. And the Capitals could not get over that second-round hump either, mostly because they were always playing Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby. But once they did beat, and they did actually beat Pittsburgh in the second round, there was no stopping them. And I'm wondering if that might be the same case here. But what I want to talk to you guys about is obviously the star power in this series. You know, I mean, we may have 4 of the top 5 players on the planet in this series right now. I personally think that Connor McDavid is the best player in the world, and I personally think that Cale Makar is the second best player in the world right now. We've got, you know, if not 4 of the top 4 players in the world, we've got probably 4 of the top 5. And then, you know, you go down the lineup, then you've got, you know, Colorado will say, well, yeah, well, we have Nazem Kadri, and then Edmonton says, well, we'll call your Nazem Kadri with Evander Kane, and we'll raise you, Zach Hyman. So I'm just wondering, guys, what are you expecting to see from a, like, take off your writer's hats here and put your fan hats on, And what do you expect to see as in terms of excitement as a hockey fan in this series? Mark, we'll start with you.
Well, when McDavid plays the way he's been playing, if you have guys on the other team that can also score the kind of goal that McKinnon scored the other night and can do the things McCarr does, it's to me here's what's going to happen. McDavid's going to make a great play. Everyone's going to come out of their seats, including McKinnon, and he's going to jump the boards next shift, and he's going to try to do something better, right?
Yeah.
And this is going to be like the trigger is 97, and I'm here to tell you, he will be fantastic in this series, barring injury. He's shown us that he raises his level when the stakes are higher. He's done it for 2 rounds here. So he's going to put a show on. But the best part of it is Colorado's got guys that can jump over the boards and put on just as good a show. So I wouldn't miss a game, boys. It's this. I don't know who's going to win, and I'm not sure whether Kadri's going to face McDavid's line or whether McKinnon's going to face McDavid. All that stuff we're going to figure out as we go on. But here's what I'm going to guarantee you. There's going to be a Sportsnet Central full of highlight reels plays every night in this series.
I remember in 2014, the Western Conference Final between the Chicago Blackhawks and the LA Kings. That was one of the best playoff series I've ever seen in my life. I'm looking for that this time, boys. So, Adrian, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with Spec there. McDavid is the best player, let's face it. I mean, the guy's, just a cyborg. But McCarr is the McDavid of defenseman. I mean, he is unbelievable. He's every bit the cyborg Connor is. He is just unbelievable. His skating technique, you'll see if you see him every night. I know you guys watch a lot of hockey, but maybe if you don't see him every night, you can't always appreciate what he does. He's got this little move he does with his feet where he can just create space for himself just by sort of backtracking a little bit, and it's like he.
Well, and we saw it on that overtime goal, that one that keeps popping up. Yeah, that's
I know
exactly it. The little stutter step. You're absolutely right.
He can sort of move in any direction at a time. It's like he's vertical, he's horizontal. He can go any direction with his feet, and it just kind of creates space. It's weird. McKinnon is I think a different player than McDavid in the sense that he doesn't. He can't go through everybody consistently like Connor did. Now, he scored one of the greatest goals in playoff history probably when he did go through everybody the other night in that game they lost. But he's more of a little bit of a give and go guy. I don't think he shoots quite as much as he should at times. I think he gets in trouble trying to do too much at times. But when he's got
straight lines, probably travels in straight lines more than McDavid. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I would agree with you there, Mark.
More north-south player.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. When he's got his line mates still going with Landeskog and Rantanen, that's a lot to handle. We don't know if Lehkonen might be on that line at times too. Still we'll see. So star power's there. I think, the Avalanche are counting on their depth to outlast the Oilers. I mean, you're not just when you talk about McCarr, also you got to factor in Taves, who's been unbelievable. Bo Byram is a good player. He's playing well. He can skate the puck all night. It's going to be that kind of thing, I think, that the Avs are hoping to win the series. It may not be the Stars who actually win it for these teams. It wasn't last game. Darren Helm comes off last 5 seconds and wins the game for him the other night. JT Conn for 2 goals and a 3-2 win. So it may be the attrition thing. Who scores those third and fourth line goals? I don't know. Otherwise, no. Those guys are going to play most of the minutes, and it's probably going to be a star that wins the game. Probably.
Well, no, but I think Adrian, you bring up a good point. I mean, maybe the star power just cancels each other out, and the series is decided by either maybe not the depth players, but it may be, the Nazem Kadris that decide this series. It may be the Cody Cece's or whatever who end up deciding this series. But I think what's going to decide this series is probably the biggest wild card. I think you would both agree for both teams, and that's goaltending. Goaltending. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, I can't help but think that the Edmonton Oilers have the edge here. as crazy as it sounds to say that. Spec, I mean, to me, Mike Smith is like the little kid with the curl. When he's good, he's really, really good. And when he's bad, he's really, really bad. But you can't argue with the guy's playoff numbers either this year or over the course of his career. They're off the charts.
I just want to throw in for a second. Smith is at a 927. Kemper's at a 904.
904. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So
go ahead, Spec.
I think Smith's like the Oilers when he's healthy, and when we judge him a lot. He gets hurt too much. He's older, so he does get hurt. And when he's hurt, he's no good. When he's actually playing and he's healthy and he's got a couple games under his belt, his numbers this year have been great. So Kemper's kind of the same guy. He's been hurt a lot in his career. So, both guys, if we could make some kind of blood pact right now that they're both getting in 6 or 7 games in this series, I don't know who's got the edge. They're both really good goalies, but maybe the X factor is if one of them, if history repeats itself and one guy's not playing after a few games, that could be the decisive feature. Smith's a game changer. I don't need to tell you guys. He's, I would tell you that he's the best puck handling goalie in the league today.
Yep.
And people are saying that he should be put into the pantheon of Marty Brodeur and Marty Turco and guys in the history of puck handling goalies. And I think that's probably, there's no one better at it. And he changes everything. You can't dump the puck in the way you did against other teams, right? The Oilers' defense that everyone looks at and goes, I'm not sure how good they are. I'm not sure how well they move the puck. Well, they move it a hell of a lot better when they're not getting pounded on because you can't hit them because Smith's the guy making the first pass. So he's a huge part of things here, Smith. Koskinen could stop pucks, but they're a completely different team when Smith's not in the net.
It's funny too, Spec, is I think as as Mike Smith's career has gone along, I think you're absolutely right about the puck handling, and I think what makes it even better is that he knows when to do it and when not to. Like, he doesn't always, it's not a given that he's always coming out and playing that puck. Like, if he's not having a great night, I notice a lot of times he'll defer and he'll let it go. And I mean, that's a part of it too, right? He's really got he's really knows when he's going, when he's not, when to play it, when not to.
Well, listen, here's the deal. First of all, take the 132-foot goal and throw it in the garbage. It's just a guy that couldn't see a puck. He didn't miss it. It wasn't like Vesatoskala where he watched it bounce down the ice and he just didn't save it. He didn't even see it. It's just a fluke play. Throw it in the garbage. Yep. When you have Mike Smith playing the puck, 40 times a night, once every 10 or 12 games, he'll make the wrong play, just like Cale Makar will make the wrong play.
Exactly.
He'll throw a pizza, give me the best defenseman in the game. There's a pizza in his game every dozen games. This guy's doing it with goal mitts on and a goal stick. Yep. So, you see the highlight of Smitty giving a puck away and it goes in his net. But the previous 190 plays that he makes your team way better. There isn't an NHL person that I've ever met who wouldn't make that trade, guys. It's a misnomer to say, Smitty gives that puck away too much. No, he doesn't. He gives it away as much as a star defenseman gives it away. The difference is when he gives it away, it goes in the net because he's alive.
Well, that's the thing, Spec. Like I've always said, give me the guy in the NHL who leads the NHL in giveaways. Give me that guy. I'll take him on my team.
Right.
100 days out of 100. I'll take the guy who leads the league in giveaways because he's always a star player and he's always handling the puck all the time. So that's a good point, Spec. Adrian, what are the tea leaves looking like in Colorado as far as goaltending is concerned? I mean, I've maintained all year that Darcy Kuemper doesn't have to be great. All he has to be is good. He just has to be good. He doesn't have to win games, but he can't lose games. And he hasn't done that. But he the workload hasn't been quite as high as it's been for, say, Igor Shesterkin. So I'm wondering what's the sort of, what does it look like going into this series as far as Colorado's goaltending?
Well, first of all, that was a good point Spec made about puck handling, and that really, when Jordan Binnington went out the last round, it wasn't, I don't know if it was as much the goaltending itself that the Avs benefited more by with him being out. It was the puck handling that they didn't have to deal with Binnington anymore. Husso could only do a forehand play around the boards. That was it. He forehand only. Binner could go both sides and dish the puck backhand, forehand, and that really made a big difference in the rest of that series. So if Mike Smith is doing what he does, it's going to change things for the Avs. They're going to have to really get in on the forecheck hard. But
you don't get to hit. It saves your defensemen so much punishment, right, Adrian? Your guys don't get pounded on near the way they do.
Kissing the glass all the time.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's right. And the Avs are able to get in and pound that Blues D a lot better after Binner went out. You're right. Kemper's still a mystery man to me. He doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence in me at times. I know I'm a tough critic at times. I covered Patrick Waugh for 9 years here. It's unfair to compare anybody to Patrick probably, but
yes,
he just gets the yips at times. he gets the yips.
Yeah.
He flinches a lot when shots are coming at him. I've noticed when things are getting a little tight, he's a little flinchy.
Flinchy. No,
that's not a nickname you want.
Or is that a Y at the end of flinchy?
That's the word. I think it's a Y. Yeah. He's a good goalie. I mean, he can be a really good goalie, right? I mean, he's so big. He takes up a lot of net, but he's let in some bad goals. His 904 save percentage is sticks out like a sore thumb here. That said, we're all just waiting to see him if he can be a real money goalie or not. He really didn't have to be a money goalie in the last 2 rounds.
Listen, don't forget too, Ken Holland, not only did Ken Holland go after Jacob Markstrom, failed and settled on Mike Smith. The next year he went after Darcy Kemper, failed and settled on Mike Smith. So there's a little bit of that going on here too, boys.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a good subplot. I think he's still got a chance to win a series and be known as a money goalie. Maybe it's all there for him. I mean, he's got a great team in front of him. You're right. He just needs to be like Chris Osgood for the old Red Wings teams to win a cup.
Yep.
That's really it. If he can just keep him 9-4, this team probably is going to win a lot of the games. So
somewhere between Antti Niemi and Chris Osgood, he's got to be in between there somewhere.
Here's where the rubber hits the road, guys. Right. You're now facing an elite offensive force here, right? Yep. I'm not saying the Oilers are the great team, but what they do is score. Do you see what they did to Jacob Markstrom, right?
Yes.
They made Jacob Markstrom look like, he was an .850 goalie in that series. So when Draisaitl comes down on you on a breakaway, when Evander Kane's finishing a 2-on-1, forget about McDavid. When Hyman on a breakaway is exceptional, right? He doesn't just get breakaways, he scores on his breakaways. So my point is this, it's going to take that's the one thing the Oilers have, a bunch of guys who can finish here. Kemper's not going to being good's not going to be enough for Kemper. He's going to have to be great.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the Avs, the Avs are. I watched a lot of that Calgary series. I couldn't believe how slow Calgary's D looked all of a sudden. I mean, what happened to them? I don't think you're going to see as many breakaways on this team. I think the Avs have a more layered defense, better than they used to have. They're better in the neutral zone. They just have a better defensive play in general, and they handle the puck a lot more than they used to. Pays and Makar always have the puck. So that's where the Avs are going to have to use their advantages, just puck possession. But
the Avs are taking the ice.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, I won't keep you too much. I'll keep you just a couple of minutes longer.
That's okay.
You got to get going here. I hear pucks going against the boards, and the Avs are out doing their reps. So I guess I'll end with this, guys. I would like each of you to identify the X factor in this series, and then of course, I need your prediction. So I'll start with you, Mark. What do you think the X factor is in this series, or the intangible is in this series? And when the rubber hits the road, as you say, what's your prediction?
Well, I'll say this. The Edmonton Oilers went against what they called the best 5-on-5 line in the league this year, 340 goal scorers in Calgary. So during the regular season, and we clearly didn't play out, that was a hell of a line, and everybody had a hard time with them. They killed. What was Johnny Gaudreau, guys? Plus 68 or something.
He was the best 5-on-5 player in the NHL this year.
So
it wasn't close. Yeah.
And not only did they win the battle, they absolutely crushed that battle. They beat that line. Edmonton's top line beat that line for fun. So the difference here in Calgary is or in Denver is the top line's got better, I think has better players on it. And the other thing is, if it doesn't go Bednar's way right away, he's got Kadri, who has a real history of being able to do well against McDavid. So I guess my X factor is that, you know, if Edmonton has a success against the McKinnon line, and I'm not saying they will, but if they do, I think they have the ultimate cork to put in that dam in Nazem Kadri. That's the X factor. If Kadri can't handle it, then the Avs are in trouble, but I think that he can.
Yeah.
So I'll give me the Avs in 7.
Nice. Okay, Adrian.
Yeah, no, I think Kadri is your wild card too. He wasn't here last year, and don't forget he was suspended in the second round. And he's every bit the difference that he couldn't make last year. This year, he Mr. Clutch in that game in St. Louis with a hat trick after all the stuff he put up with. That was an unbelievable moment for him, and I think he's. You're right. I think if he, can at least check Connor reasonably okay, that's huge. Arturi Lehkonen, don't forget about him too. He is really good defensive player.
Yeah.
He may be the guy who could be an X factor as far as a checker goes, and maybe they put him on McDavid at times. I don't know. But he's an X factor to me, and again though, I think it comes down to goaltending, like it always does. Made the best goalie win. I think Mike Smith is somebody they did beat as a Flame when they were the number 1 seed 3 years ago, and so I think they take a little confidence against him in that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Kadri is your X factor they haven't had. I said Avs in 6. I guess I'll stick with it here on this fine podcast.
Nice.
I've wavered a little bit, but I'm not known for my optimistic picks either on the Avs. But I guess I'll have to take them, right?
Yeah, you know what? This series for me, when I was going over it, was like it was agonizing. It was agonizing to pick a winner. Like I really, but I did end up going with the Avalanche in 7. And 7, what I hope are going to be wildly entertaining games. So let's get to it, guys. I'll let you guys get at it. And thanks for joining us. Spec, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I think that's the only thing that we can say for sure, boys. It's going to be one hell of a series to watch. All these great players on the ice together. McDavid in the big stage for the first time. Draisaitl quietly tied in the top of the scoring stats with him. All the great players the Avs have. Cale Makar. I don't know who's going to win, man, but it's going to be awesome to watch.
And I'm so excited to have a Canadian team to play again. Nice. And I'll be up in Edmonton for that. It's just no better than being in Canada for a playoff series.
Yes, sir.
I've always just been amazed whenever I ever had the chance to happen. I've been to Edmonton a couple times for playoff series. A lot for the Avs, but also when they played Carolina in 2006, I was covering that series. And I can't wait. I mean, the fans are, it's
well,
fun.
you guys, I know that you think that's great, but you should see what it's like in Toronto during the Stanley Cup. Oh, wait a minute. Just a second. Oh, wait a second. You guys should see what it's like in Toronto in the first round when they go ahead in a series. You should see. This city's electric, man. Anyways, guys, I am thrilled that you guys agreed to do this. We really, really appreciate it. Should be a great series, and I'll be reading your stuff with great interest. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
All right, boys.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
See you tonight, Adrian.
See you at the rink tonight.